KFYI, the Mike Broomhead Show.
Government waste, we all talk about it. What can be done about it? We have a senator to join us to talk about just that. Welcome to the Mike Broomhead Show.
I got a message, I got a song. Can I get a witness? Tell me what's going on.
All right, thanks for being here this morning. Let's get right to this. Government waste is on the docket. It's something we talk about all the time. Many people we speak to say the government could eliminate a lot of debt and not reduce services at all, getting rid of redundancy and waste. We hear them talk about this quite a bit. There's a bill being pushed by one of Arizona's senators, Jeff Flake. He joins us right now. Senator, welcome back.
Hey, thanks for having me on, Mike.
We've talked about this at great length with people of how do we cut waste, what's going on, and every time I hear stories of the magnitude of waste, I can't wrap my arms around this number in this press release you put out, $19 billion over 10 years?
Yeah, you know, a lot of people will criticize my efforts and others on earmarks, saying you're just talking about a small change here and there with, a $1 trillion budget. But if you look at programs like this one, this is crop insurance for farmers. Traditional crop insurance is paid, and that's expensive, but you could argue that may be needed and a federal subsidy may be justified. But what we're talking about here with this program, it's called the Harvest Price Option, and it's a new creation as a way to move other subsidies toward farmers. And getting rid of this would save $19 billion over 10 years. And what it does, unlike traditional crop insurance that protects farmers against unanticipated losses, this actually locks in windfall profits when there's a drought, where farmers can basically pick the price when they plant the price when they harvest. And so they're getting windfalls, and they're getting a big windfall, and it's costing the taxpayers just a lot more than they said it would.
Now, have you had input from the farmers and ranchers here in Arizona? Because I know your family, you've got a long tradition here with the farmers and ranchers in Arizona. What are they saying about stuff like this?
Well, Arizona doesn't harvest much corn.
Right.
That's the real culprit with the
it is. Okay.
Harvest Price Option. Although there are cotton subsidies also that I've been critical of, and I just have a difference of opinion with a lot of the farmers in Arizona. The cotton subsidies, we're just to let you know what's the problem there. We're actually paying Brazil hundreds of millions of dollars to subsidize their own cotton so that we can continue to subsidize our own, because they went to the trade courts and won against us in terms of our subsidies, and so we agreed to pay them to subsidize their cotton so we could continue to do our own. And so that's not a good deal for us. And this is, like I said, you can criticize going after earmarks or something sometimes because it's small money here and there. Believe me, it adds up with all of it. But something like this, one little item, $19 billion savings over 10 years if we were to eliminate it, and we need to.
The headline this morning that I tied to talking with you is the U.S. budget deficit is running 6.2% higher than last year. So it seems as if no one's learning their lesson on slowing down the spending. Record revenue into the Treasury, and yet we're still spending more money than we're bringing in. Are there other people with you that are looking at this saying this is insane? No household, no business could survive this way?
Well, yes, there are many average taxpayers certainly do. But unfortunately, the administration is proposing massive increases in spending. In fact, the numbers you're talking about are just for 1 year. Over the next 10 years, they project that we're going to be up in the $1 trillion deficits again. That's after having added another $5 trillion or so to the debt. And then, as you know, if interest rates kick up just a bit, and they're projected to kick up more than that, at the end of a decade, we'll be spending nearly all of our discretionary revenue just to service the debt. And that leaves no money for anything.
So
and defense, you name it, and that we just can't get there, and I just can't understand how there's not more excitement about attacking this problem before it gets too late.
And I agree with you. And so bills like the one that you're proposing, that you're talking about now with this farm bill, and the reason why I mentioned the farmers and ranchers in Arizona, you've been very honest in saying I've got a difference of opinion of people I respect. there's got to be more people like you doing this in their states, saying to the taxpayers in their states, you may not like me for doing this, but for the good of the country, it's important, and explaining it to them. And it's got to be an uncomfortable conversation with people you like or respect. But at the same time, you're right. If we go in this direction, they've got to understand in Washington. Are they just kicking the can because they don't want to be the ones responsible for it, or do they believe that this problem doesn't exist, your colleagues?
Well, I think there's some who just don't believe it's that serious, simply because we're still the best house in a bad neighborhood. And that's why we're still able to find people that will buy our debt. At some point, that's going to change, and my fear is that we'll kind of go over that cliff, before we realize it, and then we'll be like Japan, where we basically lose a generation, decades, trying to dig out of this mess, and we'll just have recessions going on. And I hope that we realize it before. And part of the problem with a program like the one we're talking about, this is mandatory spending. It's not seen as discretionary. So if we have, for example, a drought next year, and farmers are protected under traditional crop insurance, which is still heavily subsidized, but then also they realize a big windfall because they've locked in the higher prices, at harvest time, then that is just paid out regardless of what we have in our discretionary budget or what we budgeted for. It's so-called mandatory spending, and it just simply adds to the debt. And we have far too many of those programs going.
Do you expect this bill of yours to be highly supported and pass?
I hope so. The president, in his budget, eliminated this harvest-priced option. He realizes, the administration realizes, it's a boondoggle. This is a bipartisan bill, and it's a bicameral bill as well. I offered this amendment, just to give you a little perspective. In 2013, I offered this amendment to the Farm Bill. And it was said at this time, this is a new farm bill. We're changing some programs. It's going to be a big savings to the taxpayers. Well, had I passed that amendment in 2013, it was projected by CBO it would have saved the taxpayers $9 billion. Oh. Today, if I had passed that same amendment, we've had another year of windfall subsidies. That figure is up to $19 billion. Wow. What it would save just within a year, and the projections on what would be paid out. So we've got to do this. The sooner the better.
Well, we will follow this here as well, and I want to see how quickly and what kind of support it gets and who would be against this, of course. But I appreciate the time as always and the update to the people here in Arizona and what you're doing to at least start saving some money and cut some of the spending.
Hey, thank you so much, Mike.
All right, thank you very much. That's Senator Jeff Flake joining us for a few minutes. $19 billion. It's obviously I can do this math, almost $2 billion a year, $1.9 billion a year over the next 10 years in savings just by cutting out one program. It's just numbers like that you can't seem to get your arms around.